Okay.
Done.
We are rolling. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Can You Not? I'm here with my friends
Jesse.
and
Amber.
And I'm Joe. And this is episode 2. And the main focus of this whole thing is just to bring in topics that neither of us have discussed yet and just discuss it. We do have important matters to start off with though. Our little group has decided upon a mascot for our podcast. If anyone would care to describe what it is.
It's an ox.
And the title of our mascot, like the name Ox, is going to be spelled A-U-X because we're corny like that.
So it's Ox the Ox. We should have like a logo design contest and get people to draw us oxes.
First we have to find fans. That's step number 1.
Maybe the first one who listens will have artistic talent and will draw it for us.
And they'll just send it to us if you want to send us something.
I'm always
My
open.
Twitter is POGIE_Joe. Send it my way.
See, I'm always open to fan art. Like, please paint me like one of your French girls. Like, I expect that from the start.
I want to see
Muscles.
Jessie painted like a French girl.
Like, please, just muscles everywhere and like the most skimpy satin sheet right over me. Like,
I just imagine this ripped French nun.
Actually-
Maid. Sorry, wrong word.
Oh, wait, a French nun? Tell me more.
I mean, that is a French girl, technically.
I mean, it's the same color as the outfit. Anyway.
Who wants to start off? Jesse did start off last time, so maybe if...
I can. Okay.
Take it away.
So.
Oh, wait, we need our timer. We need our
man.
trusty timer.
Okay.
10 minutes on the
When to
clock.
go?
You are almost... And go.
Okay, so there's this drug called Daraprim, I think is how it's pronounced. It's an anti-malaria drug. It was developed 62 years ago. It's used to treat infections in people with compromised immune systems. That is, cancer patients, pregnant women, organ transplant people, and AIDS patients. It's on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines, so that's kind of the topic. 2,000 people in the US use it a year. That's just for visualization purposes. That's less than a quarter of a baseball field, and 1 to 2 million people in the U.S. have AIDS. So 2,000 people use the drug, and 1 to 2 million people actually have AIDS. There's a company called Turing Pharmaceuticals. When the headlines all say it's run by a former hedge fund manager named Martin Shkreli, and he raised the price of this drug from $13.50 a pill to $750 a pill. That's $13.50 a pill to $750. That's a 5,000% increase. And just to gauge other places, in India, the pill cost 5 to 10 cents per pill. In the UK, it's 66 cents a pill. The United States is the only place that lets the drug companies list their own prices for drugs. In other places, it's priced more like water is in the United States, where it's just kind of like, what's the lowest we can charge for this?
Yeah.
The owner, Martin Shkreli, said the drug was so rarely used it doesn't matter that he raised the price. He says he's going to use the money to make a better drug, but I've seen a lot of places say that he doesn't have any experience in chemistry, and in one of his earlier, one of the earlier companies that he had done, he said he used the internet to throw some stuff together. It's not that hard to create a drug to give to people.
Okay.
And a lot of people have said that they really don't need a new drug, that this one works. So this isn't the first case of this happening where a pill gets the price jacked up super high. In some cases, the price gets hiked up because of shortages. In other cases, it's because companies buy old drugs and market them as specialty drugs, which I think is the case here. There's another drug called cyclorazine, which was used for multi-drug resistant TB, and that was recently raised from $500 for 30 pills to $10,800 for 30 pills. And there's actually another drug that I don't have written down the name of, but I think that was in August. And Bernie Sanders and Representative Elijah E. Cummings, who is a Democrat from Maryland, actually were looking into that and trying to do something about that. And that drug that they were looking into the drugs that they were looking into were raised 525% price-wise and 212% price-wise. So that was the kind of stuff that they were looking into. The potential effects of this is that hospitals may turn to less effective treatments because they can't because patients can't afford it. Many places now can't keep the drug in stock, and I read that it can now only be bought at Walgreens because that's the only place that this guy will give it to sell it to people. And the other thing too is for a drug with so few patients, it's probably not going to go generic because companies don't find profit in it. So I read on Wikipedia that the reason that the drug got hiked up in price was because of a rarity in the compound used in the drug. I'm really skeptical of that, but that's what Wikipedia said. And just something that he said, something that Martin Shkreli said was, "This isn't a greedy drug company that's trying to gouge patients. It is us trying to stay in business." So there are a lot of things to this. And that's the research I found. So what do you guys think?
Well, thank you, Special Correspondent Amber Johnson. And now for the weather.
Once again, blowing us just out of the water. Effortlessly. She's like, oh, I only have a little thing. It's 2 minutes long. No worries about it. Okay.
Well, there are a lot of facets to this because
it's
this isn't the first time it's happened, but it's the first time, at least in my memory, where it's been turned into such a headline, and it's really run by former hedge fund manager Martin Shkreli, AIDS patients, even though this was an anti-malaria drug initially, and it's used for other things too. But they're just, I'm kind of interested, do you think that people just kind of hitched on to this particular case of this and ran with it because it has buzzwords like AIDS patients and hedge fund manager, or do you think this is like a really big thing?
I will say that the name of the businessman sounds like a villain in a movie, kind of, so it's got that going for it.
I have an interesting point to kind of bring up, right? If this were to happen in the mid-'80s, late 80s, when it was the AIDS crisis, I don't think people would have been outraged about this because people condone AIDS as like a rightful judgment God has given to someone or something like that. So now that we have less and less people that are infected with HIV now.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But the crazy thing about this is that outrage just doesn't match the data from the past. You know what I mean? So I guess the reason why I feel like everyone's outraged is because LGBT is being more accepted in the United States of America now. He's a capitalist, right? He's a venture capitalist. He worked for a hedge fund.
I don't even think he finished high school. He was literally been stock market. Like that's what he'd spent all this time learning about. And he gave like $1 million to his high school, even though he didn't graduate. And the alumni association was like, we don't want blood money because it's this stuff raised from this hike in price for this drug that, I mean, it's not a lot of people comparatively. It's 2,000 people in the United States a year use this drug. But they are people with compromised immune systems who literally, it's to stop that. It's to help them fight these infections that their body literally will not fight.
I mean, the medical industry as a whole can just be flat out despicable, and I think this is a good example of that. And especially even when it comes down to doctors getting a cut of a payment when, say, they prescribe a certain pill to somebody. You know,
this isn't doctors though. This is entirely the company.
I'm just saying, as a whole, like the medical field is so compromised for the sake of money, which, you know, in a perfect world would obviously not be the case, but it's a really hard thing because all these companies, you know, they want to make money, and oftentimes they get away with this, which is really impressive that they actually got called out for this, because you're right, I think oftentimes this would kind of fly under the radar because it's actually scarily common.
Circling back, like I said, other countries don't price, or not all other countries, but like many other countries don't price medication the way the United States does. Like in here the companies form the price, whereas in other places it's not priced that way. So the company forming the price, and this isn't the first time this has happened to this drug even. I think this pill started out like, I think it was like $1 a pill or something, and then another company bought it and raised it to $13.50 a pill, which is already, I think I read it was like $750 a month for patients who actually needed this, and now it's $750 a tablet. Like, so people who need this are just out of money, and they're still working out, I think, how Medicaid and all that stuff is going to cover it. If it will cover it, how much the patients need to pay and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't this show that our healthcare system is totally broke, in a sense, right? Like we critique socialism and, you know, universal healthcare. But it's funny, right? Like we worry about having our tax money even taken more but at the same sense, like, we're still paying more because we have to pay for our own health insurance. We have to pay for these medications. I have personal experience with this kind of stuff. Yet, like, you're paying more than you would with giving your tax money to the government. They're making money off of us dying.
Which is, I thought
that's
it was,
the craziest thing.
I thought it was interesting because it was just kind of snuck in one of the articles that it's not this particular case, but in other cases of this happening where a drug just gets hiked up an insane amount of money. Bernie Sanders was one of the people who was actively opposing it and trying to do something about it and doing investigations on it. So I think that's, I don't know, something worth noting. And there's so many different facets to this.
Well, a lot of the health industry is also based off of people just not knowing or assuming that people won't do the research. So, like, again, it's kind of interesting that people have actually kind of, like, picked up facts about this because, like, you know, you look at even just, like, how successful weight loss pills and stuff of that manner are, and how ridiculous it is what some of these companies can get away with, what they say is legal to do. And somehow it perpetuates, and somehow it keeps on. It's a continually growing industry because, like you said, they're profiting off of people's fear of death, and they're profiting off of people's fear of, you know, not being held to a certain standard of living.
I think it's even more than, like, fear. I think these people are generally sick.
And
they're making money off of them being sick. And
this is a different manner than the weight loss. Yeah, the weight loss stuff is. But
I mean, but in a sense, though, right? Like, okay, with weight loss, the people that seek that, they're either uncomfortable with their body or they're morbidly obese.
And it's an actual health issue.
And it's a health issue. Yeah. So in a sense, they are making profits off of them dying.
Right.
Yeah.
But it comes down to. Oh wow, was that our 10 minutes?
Hot topic. Let me tell you. That was a hot topic.
I can't believe
today.
that was 10 minutes.
That was quick.
Good. Great.
Ooh, shouty. Ooh, shouty.
Damn.
Okay.
And once again steals the show.
Yeah. Now I have to follow that. Unless you wanted to go.
I mean, mine's so lighthearted and stupid.
Might just be better to end with it.
Probably.
My thing is, I'll start.
Don't.
I won't.
Skimp on the
That's
timer.
true. Can't break the rules. Okay, so I'm on the clock. What I'm thinking about is the nature of nostalgia within our culture. And I think part of that, and you can see that from a couple different things. You can see it in how many reboots and stuff that we get from 80s properties and 90s properties that are super successful. You know, a lot of the big budget movies being made these days are reboots of previous things because movie companies are afraid to take a chance on things that might fail epically on and lose them a lot of money. So that's a factor of it, where we're constantly exposed to this nostalgia, you know, working off these people who are now in their 30s, who grew up in the 80s or, you know, 30s and 40s, and kind of marketing off that success. In another sense, too, we have this constant access to nostalgia because of things like Netflix and YouTube, where we can look up, like, old TV shows from our childhoods or from our parents' childhoods, or even just having access to old songs. You know, like if you heard a song back in the 50s that was on the radio, you know, you might not know whether you would hear it again or you'd have to go out and buy the vinyl. But now we can look up a song that we go, oh, I kind of remember the lyrics, and then you Google the lyrics that you remember and it pops up and this nostalgia's right there again. So I guess what I'm kind of wondering is what is it about it that makes our current society so obsessed with nostalgia? And is it going to be a long-term thing, or is it going to eventually kind of, because you even see like third generations of this a little bit with things like Star Trek and Star Wars, where we're now getting the third wave of this nostalgia, where now you have the current generation enjoying the new things, and also their parents, and then sometimes even their grandparents all making this business bigger, I guess.
I feel like a big part of it is accessibility. I don't know about reboots of things because that's money. That's different.
Yeah.
But like a big part of people being interested, at least, especially in the YouTube thing, it's just that it's accessible. It's right there. You can look it up and find it like immediately.
Right.
And as far as the movie things go, like saying goes, don't fix what's not broken. So people want to make money I feel like there are a lot of artists out there, but there are also people who are just in it to gain capital. So if you find something that people are already invested in, like emotionally, and you know that they're going to keep going out to it, if you make another one, you're probably going to get more people to go to it.
Oh, sure. I can understand the mindset behind it. It's just, is this going to happen continually forever? Or
oh, you mean like no new ideas? Everybody just keeps rehashing out.
Well, I mean, to a degree. I'm not one of those. I mean, exactly.
But, you know, like, and not every single idea is another Star Wars. So. And
I would argue if it's done well, then it's okay. Like if they do a reboot of something, but it's a really, really good movie, like I don't think it really matters. But it's just kind of interesting the place that nostalgia has within our culture and how it pretty much drives every facet of. You even hear like songs on the radio that are kind of throwbacks to songs from the 70s and 80s that are quite popular. You know.
I mean, to be quite honest, though. We're in a precarious position right now, right, with internet. Internet has grown to the point that I don't think any of us would have ever imagined. I mean, we were the first generation to really, really, really grow up and be immersed with the internet.
Yeah, no,
so this element of nostalgic venture, it's always been around, to be quite honest. I mean, it was moral relativity back then, and I mean, it just has grown over time, and then aesthetically, we felt the need to latch on to objects, and with the help of capitalism, we met that goal. Right. So to be honest, I mean, it's not a new thing. I'm not surprised that people want reboots. They want, you know, a 50th anniversary tour of a band. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of people, our parents' generation, and even our generation, that see these like cover bands. I have a friend that just saw a cover band of, I think, the Beatles and then Journey. Why would you go to see something that's not them, but it's the idea of nostalgia, right?
Especially since Journey's still
like
around,
a band.
Right?
So why would you see a cover band of a band that's still like
I can
actively
understand the
touring?
Circling back really fast, I think a big part of the nostalgia, or at least a big part of rebooting things, might have to do with the community that you can find on the internet. Because I jumped to fan fiction, and Bates Motel isn't fan fiction, but it's still this like revamped thing of something that already exists. So I feel like a big part of it might be like that there are all these stories that people are really, really passionate about. Like, I mean, pick anything, there's a fanfic of it. But now that there's a community and people can go, oh, what if this happened in this story? What if this character acted this way? Well, now there's like a community of people who are just as interested as the thing as you are, and you can go to them with these ideas, and then they're talented writers. So if you write something in that universe that already exists, other people will read it. And I feel like that might have something to do with it, is that you can find a community of people who are just as interested as you are, who would love to read your theories, and who would love to know, like, oh, what if we took this character and tweaked this one thing? What if you took this universe and twisted it this way? You know what I mean?
So in a sense, the internet has enriched nostalgia rather than cheapened it, where people might be quick to jump to say, look at how many times it's redone. You're almost implying, and I could kind of see this angle, that it's almost kind of building. It's not tearing it down or necessarily like flattening out or diminishing the idea. It's strengthening it and putting it in a whole different level of interaction with the person who's getting this story and actually making it bigger than it was, right?
Yeah, and it gives these passions that people have a platform to interact with each other. Because I mean, before you had message boards and forums and things, who would you have to talk to if you really like this book series? Like you might, your lame dad. You might find somebody else who likes it just as much as you do, but you know, you don't have such a huge community of people. Like I like Harry Potter, and there's just the number of things that I've read that make me look at like different parts of that series in a different way. Just from like, I don't even read fan fiction, but just from like, I don't know, hanging out on Tumblr, on Reddit, or just going around on the internet and just seeing like little ideas that people have, like one sentence quips, like, oh, here's this thing, wouldn't this be interesting? Did you think about it this way? This wasn't mentioned in the book. And it's really cool because it gets you thinking. And I think that collective thought about this fake universe that people are really, really interested in, like, kind of inspires that creativity that happens. And I don't know about reboots of movies, but maybe that also has to do with the community that people can find now.
And J.K. Rowling kind of feeds into it with all this stuff that she's constantly leaking about, you know, the characters' pasts and the characters' parents and the characters' grandparents and great grandparents and half brothers and dogs. But
to, I don't know, expound upon what you were saying about revisiting and kind of recreating or adding to, in a sense, that's research, is it not? That's existed forever. Like, in a way, nostalgia is research. If you really look at it in theory.
And almost kind of connecting.
It's like natural to our process of building. We have to revisit the past to make the future, right? Like,
and almost kind of connecting to that society that gave you the original thing almost, right? Like, you look at like something like Grease that came out in the 70s, which capitalized off of the nostalgia from the 50s. And that was almost kind of a way, I'm sure, of the kids at the time kind of connecting to their parents' generation and kind of getting a vibe for what made them tick. And of course, it was huge. So, I don't know. I can see it.
I mean, it's the same for music, right? Like, every single element of music, some people would say it's recycled. I think it's more revisited.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, no chord is different than the first chord ever played. And who's to say the first chord? What was it? What was the frequency? What did it sound like? What was the key? What was the note? You know what I mean? It's all about revisiting and respecting the past, but like adding on to it.
Oh, sure.
So nostalgia is research.
That's
really interesting. Yeah.
Or even just like, okay, what was that song? Oh gosh, there was that guy. I can't remember what the song is called.
His name was Slim Jesus.
No, it was the guy who got sued by Marvin Gaye.
Oh, Robin Thicke.
Yeah, Robin Thicke, which I think it's a terrible song.
It's the same beat in the beginning.
But at the same time, what you're saying though is like, I mean, all music is kind of copied in a sense from other music. Like, I feel like that was loose enough of a inspiration that I think it could have flew under and passed. I think that was probably a little stingy on their part.
The beat is so similar to the song. It's the cowbell, and I think the tambourine with the bass line in the beginning of the Marvin Gaye song. I forget what song it is.
Yeah.
It matches Blurred Lines to a T. There's an unsaid thing, I think, with any kind of creative person or scientist or mathematician, right? Like, you respect the theories, the algorithms, the scene cuts, any kind of angle, but you don't exactly take extremely everything from it. Yeah. And that you're not respecting the craft, respecting the science, the art behind it. It's not research.
Yeah, that's just almost laziness at that point.
Yeah, it's the difference lies in claiming it's yours and expanding upon something.
Yeah, which is why I think the whole idea of like, you know, how much like remix has become like a big concept, you know?
But we hit the 10-minute mark. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going way over.
I just read an article today. It's super lighthearted. I figured Amber would drop some knowledge on us about a current issue. We were both on the same length, like this was today. And I wanted to talk about New York City's phone ban overturned. So,
I haven't heard about this.
Yes. So basically on, I think it was June 1st, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was June 1st, the New York City banned the use of foam, styrofoam.
Oh, and made it phone.
No, foam. Foam, and made it illegal. And the charges of possessing or selling or using foam was more than like marijuana.
Oh my God.
How did I not
This is
hear
crazy,
about this?
right?
That's
so
insane.
Other major cities that have done this have been San Francisco and Minnesota, for example.
That is so extreme.
Is it the environmental issue of it?
Yes.
So it's the environmental issue. The trash collectors complain that it's not recyclable.
And it goes everywhere, probably.
And it goes everywhere, and people use about 6 pounds of it a week.
It also makes horrendous sounds when you rub it together.
That's another thing. That's another thing, but it got overturned.
Okay.
It got overturned today.
What was the reasoning?
The reasoning was basically, and the commissioner, this is funny, okay, so listen. It's not justified given abundant evidence showing a viable and growing market, not for expanded polystyrene foam, which is styrofoam to us. So basically, They just said the ban was excessive.
They're like JK.
They're like JK, LOL, sorry, bye. So the funniest thing about this is environmentalists are like blowing a casket right now. Like they cannot deal with the fact that Styrofoam is back in their city. But on a real level, it was affecting these small businesses and restaurants to the point where they either had to make a commitment to paper or figure out some kind of alternative.
Because a lot of things they probably get shipped in would probably be in like styrofoam
Or that
packing
they
units,
ship
right?
out or
So-
Ship out, yeah.
Just think about this. A Styrofoam box, the to-go box, is a fourth of a paper recycled box.
the cost is?
The cost.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
So the amount of money they were spending on it, they either had to make the commitment and make the leap and put an investment in it, hoping that over time these recycled products would be mass produced. So then the price would come down. So
But it didn't
these
happen quick
businesses, yes. So these businesses that made the investment are now pissed because the ban has been lifted after what? 3 months?
Oh man, that's
So
a brief trial period.
Exactly. So now the environmentalists and the businesses that made the investment are pissed
That's
off.
like a third of a baby.
What?
A baby creation.
Oh, shut up.
Dude, why?
No,
So-
that's crazy.
So yeah. So it's funny. It's funny. I like. What is your take on this? What would it be like for the city of Cleveland banning styrofoam? 'Cause
I feel like they approached it the wrong. You don't ban it and charge people for it. You like offer
that's a little
tax
extreme.
exemptions for people who like get off of it. You like you know what I mean? Like you don't just you don't make it an illicit substance and
Well-
then charge people for possessing something like that. Like,
it's more the distribution than possession. But I mean, if a business owner has it in their hand, they'll consider it an offense at the time.
Oh yeah. I guess it's always that balance between like how drastic do you go to help with environmental issues to the point where you're hurting other. It's a really hard line to balance because on one hand you want to say we have to do this to help a particular problem, but at the same time if it's also
well, that's why
crippling people
phase
in the
it in.
same
That's
way,
you don't.
yeah, you can't
You don't
just do
charge
that.
people money for, especially the small business people. I wonder why they pulled it back. I wonder if there was some big.
Oh, there was
Company.
Lobbying
there
or
was
something.
there was a big lobby by a company, and they also were a styrofoam company.
Of course
they were. And they actually were bringing up the point that the styrofoam is actually recyclable, and that
You have the right.
exactly, and basically the trash collectors came under this notion that was biased, and they were looking for an underlining in that, like there was some kind of conspiracy with it.
Well, I feel like the styrofoam gets everywhere, and I mean I can understand, I guess, because I don't know like how
There's
much.
styrofoam on the floor right over
Yeah.
there.
I don't know how much money it costs to recycle styrofoam. You know, I don't know how recyclable it is, like how much of it actually can be reclaimed and repurposed. But I don't know. I guess there are other things. I don't think it's a bad idea to try and phase out styrofoam or like different plastics or like things like that are definitely like an issue. But you don't just like hurtle that at people. Like
Yeah.
that seems like it would just screw so many people.
Wasn't that kind of like the hoopla, like same thing, New York City doing the thing about getting rid of the huge size drinks?
Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
I think that's still a thing.
So they got rid of big energy drinks, did they not? And alcohol drinks that were.
I thought it was
that
even
were-
like large size.
I thought it was like, yeah,
There's
like
large size
the-
cola. Yeah.
Mhm.
New York City has had a past of banning the most precarious things. The only good ban that I've noticed is that they banned guns in the whole city limits, which is genius.
Yeah.
That's a smart
But
move.
there's more stabbings, of course, more creative
Oh,
ways.
good.
And they gun smuggle from New Jersey. So, like, I don't know how you deal with that. But yeah, I thought it was super interesting because if we were to live like in Cleveland and they put our small business restaurants through this, I think it would be so upsetting. Like, I could see my mother like losing tons of money
Yeah.
from this.
Anything that really hurts the small business is something that's going to immediately take a toll on the economy. No doubt about it.
And like, they better give incentives if they're going to do this again for these small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of stipend, some kind of
Well,
kind of tax write-off.
Don't they kind of do that with recycling? Can't like businesses earn some
So,
kind of points or
That's
something?
skewed. It's skewed. In a sense, they do, but it depends on what city you live in. It's all about city.
Oh, okay.
It's not about
It's not like a
county,
statewide thing.
and
or
it's not a statewide thing.
anything. Oh, okay.
Well, it can be county sometimes. Like, for instance, my mother recycles the used oil from the burner, from the fryers.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is she doesn't really get that much money from it, and people steal from her. So if they were to start giving incentives about recycling styrofoam, imagine how much people would steal from that too.
True.
That's a good point.
I feel like a good way to like try and go about doing this wouldn't be to like try and even like the tax exemptions or whatever. Like maybe what they could do instead would be like go to the styrofoam company that makes styrofoam trays that businesses use and tell them we're going to give you lots of money if you start making paper things, and you actually try and make the producing the paper thing cheaper than producing the styrofoam thing. That way then the styrofoam people aren't angry, and then it's already phasing into the businesses, and then you go, oh, and if you businesses purchase this cardboard thing instead of that styrofoam thing, maybe we'll cut like some of your taxes out, and you phase it. Like you have to go in steps.
Or maybe they could offer them free tickets to a Journey cover band, and that would kind of persuade them.
I just realized something. I would have hated to work for the USPS or UPS during that ban. How do you package things?
Newspaper.
Yeah,
Like,
so much newspaper.
Bubble wrap everywhere.
Oh my god, then they banned bubble wrap, and then the postal service
Listen,
people are
I
just
would be
sobbing.
so
Children
mad.
all over
I would
the
be
world.
so mad. I love just pressing bubble wrap.
Oh, everyone does.
Like,
It's the
I would
most
just jump on that for
satisfying thing.
days and just
For
go
the,
ka ka ka.
for the styrofoam ban, did that include like the stuff that's made out of cornstarch, like the cornstarch things that you can like lick and melt with your
You know,
spit,
I don't
like-
know how far it went. I just know they were talking like plates, coffee cups.
Right.
So all these major corporate businesses, I wonder how
Those
they
are
dealt with
huge.
that.
That
You
must
know,
have been insane to try to do.
how do you
And
deal
now they're
with
probably
that?
like, now that they already switched over to these other methods, now
They're
they
like-
get this thing and they're like,
What do we do though?
I just
Yeah.
imagine
Do they
like all these
continue with it?
people like in cubicles, like coming out of their cubicles, like the styrofoam band's gone, and they're just like drop kicking like stacks of cardboard plates and stuff.
And they're just getting takeout Chinese.
I think this could be like the most. This could be like the most bizarre dystopian future film
Oh my
if we actually
God.
made this, like a world without styrofoam, and just have it starring Denzel Washington. and Tom
Styrofoam
Cruise.
underground, like.
Featuring Brad Pitt.
I feel like Johnny Depp should be in it somewhere just to mess everything up.
No, it should be Reese Witherspoon, and it should be called A Life Without Pumpkin Spice Latte.
Oh no.
How will I ever get my Starbucks without my cup?
That'd be devastating.
Except they use paper cups, do they?
Do they?
I think
I
they
don't
do.
know.
Oh,
I think
man.
they're paper,
The
actually.
revolution has
They,
already begun.
Starbucks already made it. They already made it. They knew ahead of time. They're like, we are not Dunkin'
You're not
Donuts.
dealing with it. Not a sponsor. Although it would be really
Sorry.
interesting.
It'd be really interesting if Dunkin' Donuts sponsored us.
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Oh man, I love Dunkin' Donuts. They are the greatest ever.
I like that that's what the timer went off on. Anyway. Why do you
Yes.
like Dunkin' Donuts? Dunkin' Donuts is gross.
No, Dunkin' Donuts is the greatest. They
I thought we were trying to
free-
get Starbucks to sponsor us.
would you rather have Dunkin' Donuts? or
Starbucks.
That's true.
See, that
We'd just
joke.
be swimming in pumpkin spice.
That joke about that, PSL life, pumpkin spice life, it wasn't to, downgrade your main clientele. It was more to promote them and uplift them and make them think about their purchases and to continue to invest in your recycled cups and also your glass cups so they can put their venti PSLs in and sip it on a very cold Sunday.
A smart customer is the best customer. Am I right?
So do we want to go into our summarizations,
Yeah,
like our
let's-
one sentence summarizing?
One sentence summarization of each topic. Oh gosh, what did I talk about? All I'm thinking about is pumpkin spice lattes now, floating in my head. I guess nostalgia has become a thing of nostalgia. Very meta.
Oh,
Very meta.
wow, look at you go.
Yeah, like that.
If
So
you're,
Tumblr.
you don't need to graduate high school in the United States as long as you can work the stock market. Jesse.
Let styrofoam live.
Beautiful.
Hashtag it. Put it out
Hashtag
there.
Oh no.
Start the revolution.
All styrofoam matters.
Oh no.
Everyone, I'm black, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They can't say it. I can.
And on that note, thank you once again for listening. Like I said, if you want to suggest a topipic of your own and we'll mention your name, you can send that to my Twitter at POGIE_JOE. Or if anyone did you want to offer it?
Or you can send it to me, BLVCKCELTIC, Black Celtic.
My Twitter is AmbaJ. It's it's at AMBAHJAY. Tweet me.
And trust me, she looks nothing like her photo because it's from 7th grade. So don't worry.
So, ultimately, can you not?
Can you please not?
Yeah, can you not?
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm so done.